Great, great. Since everyone is here, let's start. Why don't we start with a round of self-introduction, and I will lead. I'm Frida. I'm the partner of Global Strategy at Sperax, and I just graduated from Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism with a degree in data journalism, and somehow I work for a blockchain company, which is a great adventure so far.
Fantastic. Thank you, Frida.
Stefan, would you like to be the next?
Sure. Good morning, guys. I'm in San Francisco, still in my morning. I know many of you join around the world in the evening time. Very glad to be here. I kind of barged into this DeFi as well as Layer 2 panel, just so that I can learn more as a Layer 1 protocol, what kind of needs of many of the application migrating, whether you guys considering Layer 2 or any other ecosystem, so that to showcase the DeFi application. So Harmony is a Layer 1, but we recently also launched a bridge to Ethereum as well. And we really want to showcase that after 2 years of building our own ecosystem, Layer 1, bringing asset, having native token, proof of stake, also sharding. Now, where are the developers? Where are the applications that would love to be migrating to us? Obviously, we have many friends in Layer 1, but also just in Layer 2, like Matic, ZK, Sync, and so on. That's why the question is very keen to us, that how we would love to learn here about what you guys are considering. Obviously, Aave, as well as you guys coming from the Chromia, also with the data that you guys from the panelists here. We are here to learn like how, from a Layer 1 protocol perspective, now that we have a trustless bridge, right? The consideration that we are also even compatible tooling, everything, how you guys compare us to Layer 2, given all the withdrawal time, given all the latency, given all the tooling support. Love to learn more.
Great, yeah, so maybe I'll continue. I'm Samuel, I'm from DIA, so I'm there for all the technical aspects in my role. I'm one of the co-founders, and yeah, we are building a system where we bring decentralized oracles for financial data to Ethereum mainly, but we're also expanding on other chains at the moment too, because the oracle problem is a problem which is there for probably every chain, because you need some external data for some use cases. And there's always the question, why should I trust an oracle service? And we try to solve this by building audit chains where you can perfectly see the flow of each data and verify that it hasn't been changed, that it has been transferred from its sources. Like, for example, if we talk about price points from exchanges or from other primary sources directly into a smart contract. And yeah, this is how we see this. And we are very keen on decentralizing trust as far as possible. And blockchains are obviously a natural ecosystem for that.
Thank you. Sergey?
Yes, hi all. My name is Serge. I'm from
so
Hedget.
Sorry about that.
We are. Sorry?
I'm so sorry about mispronouncing your name.
No problem, no problem. It's Sergey in Russian, it's Sergey in Ukrainian, it's Serge in international. So yeah, so we are building the platform for option trading. It's like a new addition to DeFi space. Option actually is really handy instrument for hedging. It can be hedging for like providing liquidity to automated market makers like Uniswap. It can be, this instrument also can be used for hedging your marginal positions, even for lending protocols. It's a very useful tool to be sure that you have enough capital and that user cannot be liquidated. So options are kind of really handy. And we build in the layer for option trading, but also we build in the exchange. Where you can exchange options, when you can write options, settle option, etc. And for us, there are a lot of challenges building this like completely on Ethereum, because a lot of fees in the Ethereum network that you cannot control. And when you create an option, it's product that's very sensitive to prices. And if it's if it's expensive, like unexpectedly expensive, for example, to create an option or to settle an option, it can be like your profitability on this instrument can be negative because of the fee. So it's kind of outside. So that's why we are looking for layer 2 solutions, and we already started building on top of Chromia, and like we also look into to other like different platforms. But for us right now, the Chromia providing the best way, and right now they building the bridge between Ethereum and Chromia. Yeah. Thanks.
And then we move on to David.
Good evening, everyone. So my name's David. I'm a developer at Aave protocol. So for those that don't know, Aave is one of the leading DeFi lending protocols on Ethereum. We have more than $1 billion total value locked. We launched on mainnet in January. And then just yesterday, we announced our V2 is now on testnet, Kovan testnet. So we're looking to launch V2 on mainnet hopefully soon. And of course, similar to everyone else, we've been on mainnet, and there's certain issues for certain users in DeFi. It doesn't apply to all users, but we're actively looking at L2 solutions as well as side chains and everything else. But yeah, all our main priority and focus is on Ethereum, of course. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this panel, and I think we can get started with the questions.
Yeah, sure. So obviously everybody expressed their insecurities very explicitly, but why don't we start the panel with something more positive, and then we'll get to the dark side. So we have different people from different sides of this blockchain industry. Some people are doing marketing, some people are more on the developer side. So from different perspectives, what kind of benefits do you actually expect DeFi from DeFi products? Stephen, would you like to answer the question?
I can go first.
Yeah, sure.
That's a great question. Is DeFi only trading asset within the Ethereum? Are there practical use case that non-crypto people can really get started this year? Well, I'm talking about 2021 now. It's also layer 1 have been thinking a lot. I think what we are able to think about is whether is it just for developers, is it just for traders, is it for non-crypto people, has been the story for many of the layer 1 protocols asking themselves, right? Where will developers come once all the incentives are gone, right? Once all the guarantees, once all the incentives of grants, and so on. So it's very similar to maybe even for application side, that layer 1 is the first one to ask, can we attract developers that should bring utility? I think whether Uniswap or Aave this year really show that there are many things that application in DeFi that layer 1 or layer 2 would love to support. So the value of just providing the liquidity infrastructure. For you guys are thinking about utility for the asset of users, liquidity for your traders, flash loan, options that hedge against future volatility. It's what layer 1 or a gray layer 2 anyway. Hopefully we can provide the answers for you guys. So we couldn't answer for you where you get your value. For us, it's the infrastructure for the liquidity that you guys can build on top of.
Okay. Well, actually, Hedget you said, Serge said you just collaborated with Chromia lately and launched this liquidity mining program, right? Would you like to go specific about how that works?
Yeah, sure. So, because actually we partnered with IDEA as well. So, just wanted to mention, yeah, we're using their oracles for our platform. But yes, we launched the liquidity mining. It's right now it's a popular instrument to attract more users, to attract more attention to the project. And our liquidity mine worked actually as a pair on Uniswap. So users provided liquidity from both sides, from Hedget and Chromia side. They locked their tokens for like 2 weeks, and they received kind of a big reward. And that was really like successful first like our try to do it, because usually on Uniswap there is more like a standard pairs, like like some stable coin and some other asset, or Ethereum and another asset. But we did it with Chromia, and it was a really like successful program. So we're looking forward to do more things like that, of course. And when we have this layer 2 on Chromia, we will do something even more interesting. But yeah, thanks for asking.
Sure, and please bear with my background noise. My laptop is like burning right now, so just keep my question pretty short. So Samuel, what is your opinion about how exactly that we can benefit from DeFi products? Like, what is your vision?
Yeah, so our entire vision, and also my belief, is that DeFi brings democratization to finance, not in a way that everyone can be a customer, because I mean there's still people who don't have access to investment banking products, but I think even more in a position where ordinary people can start financial products, can start to sell them. So they can say, okay, I want to build an option on this and that specific data point, or on certain events, or even betting markets, or whatever. I mean, on the one hand, that is a very interesting path for lots of people to just start playing around with and start exploring it. And on the other side, I think there's also a big market to be discovered, to be unlocked, because this might open up this entire very abstract financial world to lots more people. And for that, I think we need a very scalable solution, because at the moment with Ethereum 1.0, it's not very tangible for when lots of people want to participate. We saw that last time during the summer, I think, when there were lots of transactions going on and transaction fees going through the roof. So we need some kind of scalability solution there, but without like tampering with the trustless ecosystem, because then if we need to trust someone, we're back at the old world. And if we need to trust someone, there's far more efficient solutions than blockchains. So I think giving up the trustless part of the blockchain shouldn't happen, because then the unique value of a blockchain is gone.
Yeah, I love the idea, the concept of democratization, enabling more vulnerable population. We can get into that more in details for the upcoming questions. Lastly, David, what's your opinion?
Yeah, sure. I agree with Samuel. There's a lot of there's a large design space for democratizing, finance, and allowing underserved people, communities, access to these financial services that they wouldn't normally have access to. I'll speak about lending, because that's sort of my area that we know. But let's say with traditional banks, certain people may not be able to get a loan or capital to start their business for whatever reason. They don't fit the profile, they don't have enough credit scoring, what it could be many, the racial bias, it could be anything. But with things like DeFi, decentralized protocols, where you can get a loan based on whether you deposit some sort of collateral, all through things like credit delegation or flash loans, that really enables a lot of new things to be created. So I think there's a lot of good things that can come out of DeFi that we're already seeing, especially when countries or when consumers start to lose trust in their central banks, and the value of their fiat currencies don't really maintain value. So we're already seeing in some countries where people prefer to transact in stable coins or to hold stable coins rather than their local currency, just because it's a better thing. And then finally, I think the other point would be that it's general financial education. So I think for a lot of people, maybe my generation and also younger, a lot of our financial education is actually coming from crypto. So learning about savings and interest rates and all these financial instruments acts purely like from crypto. So I think it's just good to educate people on like how to save and why this interest rate, like what you like, seeing money and capital as an asset rather than just as a spending mechanism. I think that's a good thing as well.
Yeah, those are really beautiful vision. Obviously, we would like to realize that, but now let's get to the dark side. Is that we have seen relatively limited application of DeFi products on Ethereum, like Samuel said. And also, like David said, that people start to lose trust on central banks. But I think the rampant security risks we have witnessed on DeFi products lately may also make people to lose trust on decentralized financial services in general as well. So how can we circumvent that? That is the first question. The second question is, I might need to expand it in the really long question, is that what are the lurking around Ethereum DeFi that all grant more awareness are Ethereum's performance, scalability, developer productivity, or security issues? It can take years before Ethereum 2.0 can run any DeFi smart contracts. And that is why I was watching Shanghai Blockchain Week that has recently been wrapped up, that Vitalik promoted Layer-2 solution in his keynote speech as well. But other than some simplistic Uniswap-like demos that do not synchronize with the mainnet, there are only few Layer-2 based DeFi products. So, so what exactly that? I think this is a very general question, but how exactly should we not necessarily eliminate, but at least alleviate this kind of security risks that have been making people very worried about either investing a lot in DeFi products or, scaling DeFi in general? Yeah. Stephen, would you like to start?
I will always go first then. Feel free to jump in, guys, because I think Frida asked very important question, but quite broad as well. We asked like the whole ideology of decentralization versus trustless. So just let me quickly touch on that. We care a lot about it. We've been in this journey for like, this project started 3 years, but I've been really in the blockchain space for 4. So asking, it seems like there are more even government, if not like big banks for sure. Some centralized exchange also get into the game of DeFi. We saw it this summer doing very well. So I think it's only natural, right? That whether centralized exchange, they're very good at providing customer service, KYC. Big banks, they will help you with more institutional support. And then government, right, giving you the regulatory and legal framework. So I think it's only natural because we care about decentralization, meaning anyone and lots of people can do it inside the government, but we also care more about the permissionless as well, right? Government can do it, big exchange can do it, but so can anyone, right? And Uniswap Aave really proved that it's possible. So I'll just leave it as that. On the whole Layer-2, and really also a great summer also as well for Layer-2 launching the mainnet and being usable and some very soon. It's also a great story because I think many Layer-1 definitely launched this year. Many Layer-2 are getting into production, but most of all, many of the DeFi applications already handling billions of dollars, right? So the melting pot of, hey, where is Ethereum 2? But optimism being ready, everyone is looking now for great solutions. For the users, for the traders, right? Anyone that showcase that that if it's not too painful to withdraw, if it's not too painful to develop in production, right? You can't really test NFT in Ethereum mainnet anymore because it's just so expensive to transfer any NFT. But people still do, just not day-to-day use cases. It's where we think Harmony is positioning ourselves to be, even though we are Layer-1, we just care about the Ethereum asset and ecosystem and tooling as anyone, right? Both the developers and the Layer-2 is our position. We want to position ourselves as we have a very robust validator tokens, as well as security and developer ecosystem. And for sure, we have all the token design so that to support bounties and grants. Now, where are the new developers who will be interested both working with Ethereum asset as well as the ideology of all the developers with a bridge? Right, that's why we want to emphasize that. And this, just last month, we launched the Uniswap v2 on Harmony to showcase that it's possible. We just came out with a research white paper that the trustless bridge part is going to be very critical to help people understand how would you compare Layer-2, which you have the same withdrawal period, a settlement back to Layer-1. To me, to Harmony anyway, it will be a very, very much of a valuable proposition to any developers, any traders.
Well, actually, on top of that, I think Harmony also launched this cross-chain
Swoop.
decentralized exchange Swoop as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How does that kind of demonstrate a migration of?
Absolutely. I think whether layer 1 or layer 2, they
Mhm.
need to do it very, very soon. Put all the hottest DeFi application on top of Aave here onto the chain and showcase it, right? We call it the DeFi showcase. On our website, we call it the DeFi showcases. As a matter of fact, we actually ported Aave. We just didn't finish all the features. You guys move so fast, right? That we actually talked to the engineering team on Aave as well while we are porting it, because it's very important. Whether layer 1 or layer 2, you need to show that it's actually work. Right, for sure, we claim even compatible. We claim that it's fast. How fast? How complete is the SDK? So Swoop, that Frida, thanks for checking it out, is our Uniswap v2 with our trustless bridge coming. So we pour some of the asset from Ethereum, allow people to trade same kind of liquidity pool to show that, hey, you guys don't need to worry about it. You don't need to read a white paper. Look at our source code. Look at how we port Uniswap. We'll do more of that.
Well, since we're talking about decentralized exchange, how would Aave like deal with all kinds of rampant security risks? You can divide your answers into 3 parts if it's easier, from maybe user, community, and developer. Maybe just a suggestion.
Sorry, that question was for me?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I said I would suggest you to maybe divide your answers from user, community, and developers in order to just how we should face the security risks and how to prevent users from distrusting decentralized exchange due to this rampant security risks.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with the premise of the question that there's like rampant security risk. And I think it's proven there's like, billions and billions of dollars in both volume and value, going through decentralized exchanges like Uniswap and whatever else. So I think the premise of the question isn't quite correct. But I think from the perspective of users, I think it's around education. So having good user interfaces like Uniswap already does, and stepping them through certain processes like that. They recently released their token lists, and that's a way to decentralize trusted assets, so people don't buy and sell scam coins or get scammed with certain coins. So I think that these are like UX UI problems on the front end that will help users, and then yeah, so there's a lot of like education around that, but that's for the builders to create and to do. I think that on the developer side, or on technical side, I think it's more about, of course, there's like technical risks and things like that. There are, of course, protocols like, let's say, Aave or like Uniswap, protocols out there that have been tried and tested with billions of dollars of like volume and assets. So they are quite secure, and they work quite well. So I think sometimes some of the security risks of protocols and the blockchain are overstated. I think the security risks that most people get confused with are more so people get scammed because scammers will do ads on Google search. Like if you Google search Uniswap or something, you'll probably like the top results will be ads, and they're generally scam sites. So it's not necessarily a crypto specific problem. It's just scammers. They will go wherever opportunities are. So it's generally education around users and getting them educated. Then of course you have private keys and wallets and things like that. But a lot of people are solving that pretty well, like MetaMask and Argent and a lot of other tooling around that. See, I'm not sure if I answered the question, but that's sort of my opinion on that general topic.
Yeah, I do want to follow up on that a little bit before getting to Samuel and Serge. Is that we've seen some protocols that kind of deviate from the primary intentions of like how developers design this kind of protocols. I'm very curious about your opinion, David. Is that do you like, as a developer, do you think is there any way to just stay away from deviating from your primary intention of actually building a decentralized financial products?
Well, the great thing about permissionless protocols is that they're inherently permissionless. So there's no set thing that people have to or can or can't do. They can do whatever they want because it's that's the double-edged sword of permissionless innovation. And people or capitalists or innovators will go where the opportunities are. So I think as long as it doesn't maybe it would help if you give if you have any specific examples of what you mean by deviating from the original. Like what exactly do you mean by that, Frida?
I read this article by Andre Cronje, who built Year Finance, and he's been questioning a really fundamental question about are we building DeFi for developers or speculators? So yeah, that is is it kind of the dichotomy, or can we actually achieve both?
Yeah, I think Andre builds like really great stuff, and he's really respected in the community. And I love the work that he's done. But this is it's a huge industry. It's like the whole financial system. There's many different people on all different sides. So of course there's tooling for speculators, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Speculators do provide liquidity and some sort of stability depending on how large the markets are. So that can be beneficial. But the thing is, you can't build necessarily a great consumer product that helps the 99% if there's no business model behind that, right? And I think there's a lot of price discovery still happening in crypto, right? So until the price discovery is settled and there's actual proper working infrastructure that can have proper profitable business models, and then we can start creating things for everyone else. Otherwise, I think that's what we saw in the ICO boom a few years ago, was that people would do ICOs and they'll be like, I'm gonna do some charity project and raise a few $1 million. But the infrastructure is not there to you can't put crypto in the hands of someone that doesn't have a laptop or doesn't know how to use a computer, right? It doesn't make sense. So sometimes I think we want to help a lot of people, of course, but it's sort of putting putting the cart before the horse. I think that there's some steps that need to happen beforehand. So I think my general opinion is that as DeFi grows from billions to tens to hundreds of billions of dollars, there will always be a fraction of that becomes is more consumer orientated, right? And then the majority of it will generally be finance orientated financial instruments.
What is your take, Samuel?
Yeah, I think this is also a bit of a multi-layered question. First of all, I also agree with David that security is not necessarily an inherent issue. So, because, for example, if we look at centralized exchanges, there have been a lot of examples where people have just been robbed because the exchange was hacked. But with decentralized exchanges, obviously there are some examples where there were bugs or some unintended features, let's call them like that. But that's more of I think this is a solvable problem with good protocol design. And that leads also to my second opinion there, which is maybe we don't really need, for every smart contract, we don't really need a Turing complete programming language where we can do everything. But especially for DeFi applications, which might have similar methodologies, even if they are, one of them might be lending, the other one might be an exchange, they still have some modules which are pretty similar. So it could be a worthwhile time to spend to build some domain-specific languages that are not as powerful as Solidity, but only tailored for that specific use case, and then can be formally verified later on to see if the flow of data and the flow of funds is only happening how it should and not doing anything else. I think Ethereum might be at a stage where these languages can now be an interesting option because the ecosystem is quite big, and I think only a subset of the ecosystem will be interested. So you need quite a big user base in the beginning before it becomes interesting. But yeah, in my opinion, Ethereum might be at this stage at some point. And the other one is that also, yeah, there's lots of lessons to be learned, which sidechain projects, which are now getting some kind of momentum, should probably also look at, yeah, especially also again in this language design space, because I think having a language which is more like Go or something, which guides you very well as a developer, what to do and what not to do, and compared to, I don't know, JavaScript, where you can do anything you want, and your program still works, kind of, in most cases. I think this will lead to more security. So I think it's more of a tooling issue and not inherently in the DeFi space, something which is inherently wrong there. Or yeah, that's how I would see this problem.
Okay, so like we should conceive this more like the gun problem. Sorry if that is a really bad parallel, but DeFi is supposed to be a tool instead of something that we can judge on based on its inherent instance. Did I put it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always. I mean, even we could say it's inherently unsafe, but everything is at some point inherently unsafe. So also centralized finance, there, even not in the non-crypto world, if you have a bank that can go bankrupt and it might be too big for any emergency fund that's behind it, so the state has to cover it or something, or the state can't cover it, and then it's really a bad situation. So I think there's always this option that something goes wrong in non-trivial systems, and yeah, we should just try to make a corridor which is narrow enough that probably never anything bad can happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
I think can I jump in there? I think that the important thing as well here is it's not just around like programming or Turing complete, because these days a lot of the attacks that happen, let's say with flash loans, they're actually economic attacks, right? So even if you have like write and go or Rust or something, and it's like, you know, perfectly checked language and you program exactly the way you want it, like you need very different expertise to actually think about economic attacks. So I think that's another vector to it, that it's yeah, it's not just the developer side. Yeah, things get complex pretty quickly once you start building permissionless finance.
Yeah, I think also some kind of there's probably also a lot of interesting areas to explore in the modeling world, where you can model the financial processes around it, and then probably later on do some verification. But this is also, yeah, a tedious process which takes time and resources.
great discussion. Yeah, that really sparked a lot of thoughts in my head, but I don't think we have enough time bandwidth to actually discuss all of this sparkles in my head. What is your take, Serge, on this problem?
Yeah, so I think this problem really exists. I mean, maybe it's not like security per se, like a code review. Of course, code should be reviewed, and test in production maybe it's not the best strategy to play with someone else's financial assets. But I mean, we also have like complexity, the level of complexity that's really difficult for user just to understand. Maybe the pool can be withdrawn, for example, with this flash loan mechanism. So you just put your money, and it's like in South Park season, and it's gone. So you and you cannot understand from the user perspective why it's gone. Of course, someone can like retrospectively explain you with a very like clever face that it was gone because blah 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 blah. But you as a user, you see your money gone, and probably you will not be interacting with such things any longer. Maybe you borrow money from your, I don't know, grandma, and you don't have it, and you cannot explain your grandma that it was flash loan or something like that, and it was just extracted from there. So yeah, of course, education is very important, but also we see right now projects that provide some level of insurance. For example, like Union or Nexus Mutual, they're working on their like tools to provide some insurance. If your funds will be withdrawn for such and such reason, you will get something, at least maybe not fully coverage, but at least something. And collaboration with the projects that also we have here this asymmetry of information, right? So developers who developing the smart contract, they know that what they're doing, and they can say, okay, we're like sure 100%. We just tested our code, and we can put some money in the pool. And if something goes wrong, this pool will be distributed to people who just suffered from this attack. So that's kind of how the ecosystem evolve. So we have more products. We have more competition between products. For example, like maybe 2 years ago, we had only Tether as a stable coin, but right now, how many different stable coins we have, how different approaches they take. Same thing will be with like this, like layers of insurance, of derivatives that can insure some event. You can, if for example you can bet that something can happen. For example, you can bet that Earn Finance will be, dead in 1 year, and you can put it like it can be prediction market, it can be wrapped as a token, it can be wrapped as NFT, whatever. So it's really interesting how the space will evolve, and of course the problem exists, and different projects will take different approaches, and it's really interesting and exciting how this can be like from now and in year and 2 and 3, and how it will evolve with time.
So one last question is about how, just in a really abstract question, is so we build DeFi projects inherently to achieve decentralization, but obviously based on this discussion of security risk and everything, do you think developers are kind of deviated to just build products to deter risks? Is that at odds with decentralization where we're migrating to layer 2? And in order to further expand that question do you think we need to deploy governance in order to deter risks? Like, this is a very philosophical question, but whoever would like to talk about it, please go ahead.
Sure, I'll still go ahead first. We only have a few more minutes for this panel. Thanks, Frida, for asking the biggest question, which is always philosophy. I think it's interesting here that we actually both have engineers here that understand programming language and development security, but also economic incentives and economic security for the attacks, right? And Sergey, really think from more the ecosystem perspective, how insurance and other prediction market can help hedge some of the risk. But since Frida asked a big question, I'll end also on the big notes of how Harmony takes that too. I think the whole question about governance, as well as like experimenting with a layer 2 or another protocol, layer 1 protocol, is actually relevant, right? Because every layer 1 protocol, also layer 2 protocol, have different governance design, right? At the end of the day, when something happened, or when you get censored and you couldn't withdraw, when something gets stuck, contract got wrong, layer 1 protocol, the protocol itself is stuck, or like just completely have attacks on its own. It's the same question. Can you trust whether no validators or the developers there to do the right thing, right? Are they going to upgrade? Are they going to censor? Are they going to roll back? Is it going to be a hard fork? The position that Harmony take is we still care about the way that Ethereum designed it, if not all the way Bitcoin. We want hundreds of validators to come in and say, each of you have the governance and final say on what the network forward, whether upgrade or fork, to the point that it has to be about open staking as well. So we take it very seriously that everyone has stake in it and everyone can participate. But jumping back to the question of security is also relevant. I do think the analogy of different cities evolution is very interesting here to tie back to what Frida asked us, what about layer 2 migration? Back in the time, people literally go to another land to experiment with different, like, call it American governance, right? American government and war and all that, so that something happened there, but at the end of the day, you want to build a bridge or so that people can go back and forth. It's really where Harmony is putting it here. We already built some kind of city on our own. Now it's time to bridge it back to Ethereum so that developer can go back and forth and still experiment with different utility and security for everyone.
Perfect. That actually brings us exactly at 2:30, and this is a great panel. I certainly learned a lot from everyone, and thank you for the trust for joining Behind the Chain. And see you guys in the space.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry for having the afterwards. Love to see you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good...
Yeah.